Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Commencement 2017 in the rain. Because of the weather, we are going to significantly shorten the main ceremony for commencement. But unless something strange happens, we intend to go forward with the full procession of graduates walking the stage, so everyone will get a chance to see their son or daughter walk the stage. Now, a couple of quick things. At the risk of sounding like an airline employee, graduates, under your seat, you will find a poncho. So we're going to ask the graduates not to use umbrellas, but if the rain gets too much, feel free to put on your poncho. Unlike airlines, we will not be forcibly removing you from your seats. For the parents in the audience, we recognize the rain may come and go. We're just going to ask you to be courteous with umbrellas to the people around you, especially during the procession of graduates, so everyone has a chance to have an unobstructed view of their child. With that in mind, we're going to move forward. Thank you and welcome to commencement.
Good afternoon. My name is Chad Bruner, and I'm the Vice Chairman of the Rowan University Board of Trustees. I was born and raised here in Glassboro and had the opportunity to attend graduate school in 1996. This university and the borough of Glassboro have grown and changed, just like each and every one of you during the past 4 years. It is important to understand, however, that during your career, you will experience a world and a society that inevitably changes every day. But I urge you to embrace change, not resist it. Remember, if you don't like change, I promise you that you will like irrelevance even less. So I offer you this advice as you move along your career ladder to success. First, take the opportunity to build skills. Abilities, knowledge, intelligence, and talent can only take you so far. Build skills every day to consistently get better. Don't become complacent. That is the enemy of exceptional. Second, take the opportunity to build credibility and earn trust through character, competence, and connection. Character is your ethical trust. You build it by consistently doing what you say you will do. Competence is your technical trust. You build it through doing your job over and over at an exceptional level. Connection is your personal trust. You build it through repeatedly caring, listening, and fully engaging with people. Third, in life, it is inevitable that you'll be presented with some type of challenging event. We do not control the events in life, but we always have control over how we choose to respond. And how we respond means everything. Finally, and most importantly, enjoy each moment along your professional and personal pathway. I look out and I see a bright future for all of you. Congratulations, class of 2017.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Ali Hushman. I'm the president of Rowan University. I too promise it will be very, very short. We have much to celebrate and remember today, including the lives of those we have lost in the course of the last year. Please join me in a moment of silence to remember those dear to us, including graduate student Jeanette Garia, who Rowan community lost in April. Thank you. For my comments, if it wasn't raining, it would have lasted about 1.5 hours. But I promise I will finish in about 25 minutes. But I wanted to take this opportunity to first and foremost thank all the loved ones here celebrating great accomplishments of their loved one here. Parents, brothers, sisters, husbands, wives, I am so grateful for the trust that you gave us in leaving your most precious asset with us 4, 5, 6 years ago, for those of you who pursued undergraduate, and for those who pursued graduate, probably 2, 3 years. But in any ways, I'm so grateful that you did trust them. We are now returning them back to you, fully mature, with a great degree, with tremendous amount of knowledge under the belt. Many of them are going to go to the most prestigious graduate schools. Many of them are going to have already jobs, and these are the future leaders of this country. And for your trust, I'm grateful. And now they're going to start working and paying their taxes so that we, as old people, can actually get our Social Security. I want to thank you. Congratulations to all of you. Have a wonderful day.
Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Karen McGee Sauer, Dean of the College of Science and Mathematics and School of Health Professions. And it is my distinct pleasure to introduce Dr. Shirley Malcolm as our commencement speaker. Dr. Malcolm, who heads the Education and Human Resources programs at the American Association for the Advancement of Science in Washington, is a champion for minorities, women, and girls in STEM fields. An individual whose bona fides include graduation from high school at the age of 16, followed by a bachelor's and master's degree in zoology, and a PhD in ecology from Penn State University. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Shirley Malcolm.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be here and to be able to celebrate this very special day with you. Let me begin by congratulating all of you on the completion of this part of your journey into science and mathematics. I want to thank the faculty, the board, and the leadership of Rowan for all that they have done to make you ready to go into this next phase of your life. Because I serve on university boards, I get to go to multiple commencements each year. I never tire of them. They also make me know not to speak for 60 minutes. I'm always thrilled to join the excited new graduates, their families and friends who nurtured and supported them, and the faculty, staff, and leadership of the institution that helps us shepherd them to that day and to the next phase of their journey. This is a special year for me, too. It's my reunion year. It's hard to believe that 50 years ago, I sat where you sit, wondering what the next phase of my own life and career would bring. Now, I have a pretty good imagination, but even my imagination wasn't that good. I could not have imagined having the life and the career that I've had. But I get ahead of my story, an improbable one, in which science plays a starring role. My journey began in Birmingham, Alabama. And if you know anything about 1950s and 60s Birmingham, or if you've read anything about it, you will likely wonder how I, an African-American woman, would have found her way into science. In the Deep South, every aspect of our lives was governed by rigid Jim Crow laws that held segregation in place wherever we went. My hometown was ground zero in the civil rights movement. We didn't have a prom, we were under martial law. But with the launch of Sputnik in 1957 by the then Soviet Union, another movement emerged, vying for our attention, and offering us tantalizing possibilities. It was this threat to the United States that led the country's leadership to call out to all of us, irrespective of background, to consider study in science and engineering. Our eyes were opened in that post-Sputnik period to another set of possibilities. Many of us began to construct different narratives for our lives, dreaming different kinds of dreams, finding excitement in the lure of science, Never mind that we were not necessarily seen as potential scientists. We certainly looked nothing like the scientists of the day or the portrayal of the scientists of the day. We had to call on our imaginations. My education in the segregated schools was a mixed blessing. On the one hand, we had a supportive environment, and we never had to put up with people telling us about what we couldn't do or couldn't become. But we didn't have the best science resources. People didn't necessarily think that we were worth that kind of investment. But we had good and caring teachers, lousy labs, in our separate and unequal world. We made do. But everything caught up with me when I entered the University of Washington. I had to confront the deficiencies in my earlier preparation, and I had to convince faculty that I was not dumb, but I was underprepared. I had never lived anywhere but in an all-black community. So a residence hall where there were 3 African-American women out of 400 was a bit different. My roommate from North Dakota had never lived around blacks, so that made us even. I was dealing with challenging content and a challenging context. Remember, I had just left a high school where everybody looked like me. One of the things I found quite surprising was a small number of young women in so many of my science and mathematics classes. I wondered where everybody was. In my high school, it was totally acceptable, even expected, that we, as women, would participate and excel in science and mathematics courses. But I made it out, and I made it through, receiving my own bachelor's degree in zoology 50 years ago. I learned a lot from that experience at UW, how to compete and how to cooperate, how to overcome deficiencies and build on strengths, how to ask for help and how to give it, to value who I am and to value the diversity of insights and perspectives of those around me. Over the past 50 years, I have seen how science and technology have totally transformed our world. When I graduated, personal computing did not exist. There was no GPS, which meant I would not have been here today. There was no internet, no mobile phones, so no selfies, and only birds tweeted. Pluto was still a planet. While Einstein had predicted the existence of gravity waves, the idea that they would ever be detected was likely considered pretty far-fetched. While the structure of DNA had been described, it was not clear that anyone had yet seen how it could be used as a tool to convict the guilty or exonerate the innocent. The wonder of science is the knowledge that keeps growing and giving, requiring that we keep learning and remember that. This isn't the end. This isn't even the beginning of the end. Some say the end of the beginning, but not. The wonder of science is that it thrives, and amid the background of openness and shared ideas and energy. And it comes from women and men from every kind of neighborhood, of every background imaginable, and every country in the world. Over my journey, I came to appreciate how science thrives amid diversity, that science knows no borders, that science must be a welcoming and open space where all can contribute, regardless of race, ethnicity, gender, religion, national origin, disability, gender identity, or social background. That is the kind of world science opened to me, and that is the kind of world I hope science will always strive to protect. The past 3 days, I was in Geneva at a meeting of the UN Commission on Science and Technology for Development. representatives from countries around the world were meeting to discuss how science, technology, and innovation might be used to help realize the Sustainable Development Goals. From amid the changes that science and technology have brought to us, there are still people in the world who struggle to meet the most basic needs. While all of us live with global challenges we must help to address. As a member of the Gender Advisory Board of the Commission, I spoke of the need to look at the issue of achieving food security, for example, through a gender lens, recognizing that across countries of the world, women and men assume different roles in assuring the production, access, and utilization of food. I have spent my career trying to ensure that for all those who might aspire to science, there is a reasonable opportunity they might achieve that goal. While that has meant trying to affect the quality of education students receive at each level, it has sometimes meant encouraging institutions to be open and welcoming places for all kinds of students. It sometimes meant urging families to see the passion for mathematics and science in their children, even if they don't get it, especially when they don't get it. Sometimes it has meant cautioning people to see beyond preconceived ideas of what a scientist does and does not look like. In the last 20 years of his life, Nobel laureate Albert Einstein seldom accepted invitations to speak at universities. But he made an exception in 1946, the year I was born, when he traveled to Lincoln University, a traditionally black institution in Pennsylvania, the alma mater of Thurgood Marshall and Langston Hughes. He gave a speech, accepted an honorary degree, and gave a lecture on relativity to Lincoln's students. Usually when you think of Einstein, you think about his Nobel Prize. Sometimes you might think about his cautionary statement to the President of the United States regarding the use of nuclear weapons. Almost never, however, do you hear about Einstein as a champion of civil rights and human rights. But it was that gift, in a way, the gift of his belief that the students of Lincoln were also people in whom he should vest, that I will always remember about Einstein. Go forward, do well, but also do good. Thank you.
The awarding of honorary degrees is a long-standing tradition at Rowan University. We select individuals whose accomplishments are meritorious and provide inspiration to our graduates and to the entire university community. Today, we honor such a person in Dr. Shirley Malcolm. Dr. Malcolm is a proven fighter in creating access to the science, technology, engineering, and math fields. She has devoted her career to educating and creating opportunities for others. Dr. Newell and Vice Chairman Brunner, please join me at the podium. We present Dr. Malcolm today with an honorary Doctor of Science degree for her great contributions as a science educator and for her extraordinary leadership in advancing diversity in science and engineering.
Mr. President, I am pleased to receive this recommendation. By the authority granted to me as Vice Chairman of the Rowan University Board of Trustees, today we honor ourselves as we bestow upon Dr. Shirley Malcolm the honorary degree of Doctor of Science with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities appertaining thereto.
This week, we are graduating 40 students who have served our country as members of the military or National Guard. That's right. Many of them have served overseas, and we recognize the challenges and hardships of going overseas and then transitioning back home to Rowan to complete their education. Will those students who have served in the military or National Guard please stand to be recognized? We thank you for your service to our country. You may be seated.
Will all master's and bachelor's degree candidates please rise?
That's all of you.
Master's and bachelor's degree candidates of the class of 2017 who have been certified as having completed all the requirements for graduation by the authority vested in me as Vice Chairman of the Rowan University Board of Trustees, I confer upon you the Master of Arts, Master of Science, Bachelor of Arts, Bachelor of Science degrees with all the rights, privileges, responsibilities, and obligations appertaining thereto. Congratulations. You may be seated.
Last summer, Malcolm Gladwell featured Rowan University and the Henry Rowan Gift in an episode of his Revisionist History podcast, where he went back to revisit and reinterpret the $100 million gift to Glassboro State College. Malcolm Gladwell's podcast did an excellent job in explaining why Mr. Rowan chose to bestow this opportunity to Rowan that he did. But I think it's important now that we reflect on this reason. Flashing back 25 years, higher education worldwide wanted to know the reason he tapped a little-known South Jersey school rather than a more predictable choice, such as his alma mater, MIT. But Mr. Rowan famously defended his decision, saying that elsewhere, his little $100 million wouldn't have hardly made any difference at all. And what a difference his donation has made. Henry Rowan was right to trust us with what turned out to be the spark that ignited one of the fastest growing colleges in the country. While his gift seeded the transformation, the talent and passion of the community led to the development of a College of Engineering, not one, but 2 medical schools, and a college town spirit that has enlivened the once sleepy little town of Glassboro. Rowan's graduates now enrich the workforce of the region and drive the economic engine of South Jersey. Mr. Rowan had the wisdom to place his bet on Glassboro State College, where his gift would make a big splash instead of being just a drop in the pond. But more importantly, the big splash created a ripple effect that elevated every facet of the university, especially the College of Science and Mathematics. As you move on from Rowan as part of the class of 2017, try to remember that the excellence of your Rowan degree is directly tied to that little $100 million. I hope that you will show your gratitude to Henry Rowan by creating your own splash in the world. Congratulations and good luck. I knew that, actually, but it's now time to proceed to the presentation of graduates. Each of our graduates will be called individually by program, beginning with students earning master's degrees and then proceeding with students earning their bachelor degrees today.
Graduates, please be careful coming up the ramp and on the stage. It's a little damp. and we would literally like you not to fall at the last. We will start with the graduates of the master's programs. Master of Arts in Applied Behavior Analysis, Dr. Mary Louise Kerwin, Department Head.
Jody Justice. Sarah Krishnavik Harrison. Brielle Spangenberg. Michelle Simon. Victoria Hurley. Victor Chin. Matthew Lasowski. Brian Nace.
Master of Arts in Clinical Mental Health Counseling, Dr. Mary Louise Kerwin, Department Head.
Nicole Romanelli. Melanie Fullard. Sana Kem. Adam O'Donnell. Alyssa Mayo. Lauren McMorrow. Allison DeMena. Ashlyn Henning. Ebru Dugme. Adriana Panacci. Thomas Wagner.
Master of Arts in Mathematics, Dr. Dexter Whittinghill, Department Head.
Dominic Macaluso. Christopher Ernst. Christopher Cooper. Keith Ferrante. Josepina Caranante. Peter Zock.
Master of Science in Computer Science, Dr. Fasila Hanateshan, Department Chair.
Anthony Mealy. Tanzina Farzana. John Bucknam. Nick LaPasta. James Ortiz. William Ezekiel. Christopher Howes. Sebastian Wild. Corey Finch. Stephen Asbury Jr. Eric Altheimer. Michael Peacock. Kevin Wainwright. Kaja Ahmed Yusufuddin. Parvati Kota. Arafat Qureshi.
The inaugural graduating class for the Master of Science in Data Analytics, Dr. Anthony Breitzman, Program Coordinator.
John Masterson. Matthew Long. Mihir Savla.
Master of Science in Pharmaceutical Sciences, Dr. Gregory Caputo, Department Head.
Silas Mazzachetti. Babitha Mashareddy. Gayatri Champana. Mansi Jani. Ridi Taka. Chitna Singala. Lindsay Wren. Brittany Gallagher. Raymond Fox. Amardeep Patel. Dylan Quinn.
And now graduates from the bachelor's degree programs. Biochemistry, Dr. Gregory Caputo, Department Head.
Konstantinos Totalos. Matthew DeSimone. Naisha Lena White. Lillian Beretta. Laura McCracken. Francesca Giginis. Victoria Smith. Adriana Natal. Kasaya McGowan. Casey O'Leary. James Jesawaldi. Kenneth Heist. Kelso Burrell. Eileen Savayanat. Paul William Rothloff. Matthew Crouch. Taylor Kegi. David Zambrisky. Elias DeLeon. Matthew Tendler. Mira Osman. Keith Patterson. Stephen McAllister. Luisa E. Abuso. Annie T. Tran. Jordan Fu Lam.
Chemistry, Dr. Gregory Caputo, Department Head.
Erica Mascarello. Timothy Gaz. Alexandria Brady. Alex Vendola. Ian Bacanis. Sylvia Hanna. Jay Tomlin. Christopher Lesniak. Justin C. Joseph Liza. William Neuhaus. Stephen Hunt. Peter Pellegrinelli. Clifford McCouch. Ahmed Moeed. Megan Smith. Morgan Smith. Nicole Thatcher. Carolyn Curry. Samantha Wall. Lindsay Lord. Christina Radicella. Rachel Ross. Rachel Faze.
Bioinformatics, Dr. Gregory Caputo, Department Head.
Jeffrey Moorer. Samuel MacLeone. David Montgomery. Kelly Moore. Amanda Tursey.
Biological Sciences, Dr. Michael Grove, Department Chair.
Kevin Markey. Catherine Jean Junowitz. Shah Said. Jamie Neff. Kevin Lindert. Christy Okor. Madison Maines. Matthew Hallquist. Laura Jerrymain. Mariah Hollis. Ayat Kasid. Jaretza Santana. Jana Henkel. Morgan Basta. Thomas Johnson. Maya Penchal. Rebecca Lamoth. Victoria Schivetti. Kyle Watt. Gina Nebel. Taylor Groff. Nicholas Averell. Jacob Wilson. Carrie Wynn. Rose Kim Wynn. Ian Quinn. Brianna Scott. Aaliyah Lewis. Jeray Danielle Smith. Juliana Outen. Chinwe Nadi. Melissa Stickle. Kayla Pereira. Sirhan Gautreau. LeVar Heyman. Brittany Nugent. Naheen Sharif. Nikita Gandhi. Christopher Knapp. Rebecca Malos. Julia Malos. Thomas Gallo. Kim Al-Hurani. Jenna Gardner. Wendy Cruz. Aaron Calderon. Christopher Rachik. Dominic Aponte. Alexander Ciacciarelli. Stacy Miller. Miriam Gordon. Brandon Thomas Bonner. Matthew Pingle. Teresa Acevedo. Madeline Rose Mazare. Rochelle Mundell. Gian Rachel Jean-Pierre. Tiffany Thomas. Stephanie Monroe. Brittany Smith. Nermeen Elenay. Tiffany Betters. Candace Bacho. Katrina Shaleski. Karina Tripoli. Jennifer Mellish. Brett Fedor. Sharonjeet Sajajan. Bethany Stockton. Yvette Mitchell. Clarice Chi. Kyle Blaylock. Joseph Anthony Montalvo. Paul Long. John Parisi. Anthony Palero. Maria Gambale. Troy Postlethwaite. Adam Haynes. Janelle Hyman. Kendra Bile. Kevin Hakame. Radwan Azare. Rachel Heath. Ashley Dively. Emily Banks. Jasmine West. Kristen Bland. Annika Danielle Ten. Kiani Mitchell. Dan Court. Paul Castellano. Madeline Helen Doyle. Dylan Bolton. Taylor Rose LaCourte. Devin Patrick Dromgoole. Melissa Quinones. Cody Wayne. Alexander Colfer. Seth Edgar. Samantha Williams. Bailey Giblin. Victoria Connell. Jillian Taylor Schluter. Richard Kennedy. Sarah Simpson. Brittany McRae. Melissa Del Conzo. Patricia Castillo. Caitlin Mayo. Victoria Christopher. Kaniqua Hashan. Melissa Lawler. Catherine Light. Douglas Widener. Kelsey Flood. Daniel Manason. Kristen Natoli. Dylan Jordan. Brett Fisher. Shanice Figgs. Jasmine Sampson. Carolyn Redmond. Sarah Ramey. Samantha Coes. Teresa Hayes. Rebecca Murray. Stephanie Berman. Heather Namovitz. Alexis Dunn. Dean Amos. Alex Zabrowski. Brittany Vamero. Danielle Strathman. Keanu O'Neill. Kyle Elazer. Andre Vypritsky. Abraham Hakim. Darian Seidman. Kent Trong. David Rodriguez. Jameel Miller. Tyler Flockton. Eric Rodriguez.
The inaugurating graduating class for Computing and Informatics, Dr. Vasily Hanateshan, Chair.
Dennis McFerrin. Ralph Heiser. Shania Swanit. Tony Asibe Anachi. Donovan Butler. Michael Robinson Jr. Benjamin Steinberg. Mohammed Shakarchi.
Computer Science, Dr. Vasily Hanateshan, Department Chair.
Nicholas Bruno. Peter G. Cipollone. Adam Tucker. Dennis Clowder. Thong Tran. Travis Buff. Matthew Kemp. Spencer Escalante. Charles Lorden. Kyle Rapps. Justin Pilla. Steve Leonetti. Christopher Deck. Daniel Bemke. Daniel Smith. Christopher Porch. Thomas Miller. Matthew Gimbut. Michael Mascariello. David Diano. Sean Dale. Brian Strauch. Carson Murray. Rex Cummings. Nicholas Shalacy. Jonathan Saunders. Matthew Pauley. Zachary Flake. James Donnell. Trevor Silva. Michael Tillett. Catherine Doherty. Sean Mulhall. Brent Rickards. Dane Rickards. Brian Nunez. Takashwari Kamal. Amanda Verno. Tin Buzancic. Asa Swan III. William Graham. Danielle Lopez. Asim Rai. Nicholas Hand. Brian Matei. Kevin Carnes. Michael Marchina. Patrick Carroll. Brian Monks. Stephen Pham. Sean O'Connell. David Ferreira. Thomas Owen Jr. Christopher Mariani. Clayton Balacanta. Abigail Palian. Yusuf Cardona. Amandeep Singh. Aaron Quigley. Damon Tomasi. Nicholas Piros. Ryan Hudson. Bradley Updegraff. Naomi Wambo. Shiv Kumar Patel. Christopher Carreri. Michael Ginn. Timothy Horner. Kevin Demora. Vic Lay. Tin Lam. Stephen Lee. Eliaka Kaku. Roberto Gonzalez. Joshua Yoon. Arun Chintrakantan. Ian Markand. James Adams. Jeremiah Caban. Eric Carpizo.
Mathematics, Dr. Dexter Whittinghill, Department Head.
Sam Doria. Kyle Sullivan. Lauren Holding. Miriam Fuerte. Michelle Bertino. Gina Marino. Amber Rossetti. Veronica Williams. Edward Hoden. Jennifer Abdul Malik. Anna Marie Webb. Alana Lamort. Tyler Groot. Kevin Mann. David Miller. Amy Timko. Jamie Grasso. Kimberly Early. Jillian Jamerson. Maria Elena Curasis. Salvador Michael De Hoya Teves. Pierre Rye. Brian Kamey. Leatrice Spiewek. Carly Metrian. Kimberly McMaster. Yongshin Wu. Gregorio Garcia. Joshua Codis. Jacob Larson. Joanna Williams. Sarah White. Mitch Szerski. Corey Stapleton. Timothy Greeley Jr. Jonathan Morris.
The inaugural graduating class for biophysics, Dr. Tabitha Dobbins, Program Coordinator.
Kayla Calloway.
Physics, Dr. David Klassen, Department Chair.
Anthony Goebel. Christian Beauvais. Jason Ebron. Chibike Samuel Adizi. Brandon Bergman. Christopher Green. Frank Sifone. Kyle Linderman. Jason Johnson. Joshua Garden. Frank Young. Ryan Garwood. Timothy J. Baker. Patrick McFadden. Sean Zimmerman. Jesse Buchan. Andrew Daniels. Joseph Wiggins. Luke Wister. Nicholas Wright. Tyler Shields. Ryan Moyer.
Physical Science, Physics, Dr. David Klassen, Department Chair.
Aaron E. Brooks.
Psychology, Dr. Mary Louise Kerwin, Department Head.
Danielle Ryer. Michael Majoli. Aaron Hernandez. Jason Moore. Kelly Blazik. Rebecca Russell. Kelly Creato. Rachel Solar. Natalie Prudente. Troane Dickens Jr. Sinasia Hill. Allison Tolles. Kevin Allen Jr. Angelo Grasso. Michael Torella. Nakira Pinkman. Tanya Boge. Ashley McKenzie. Alicia Cunningham. Amy Jennings. Victoria Osimarsi. Helen G. Santiago. Samantha Arana. Megan Walsh. Kara Keowen. Rachel Kraft. Amanda Slade. William Garenti III. Chelsea Christine Hansen. Devin Penza. Demi Caltabiano. Crystal Nicodemus. Trayvont McLeod. Dexter James Anderson. Taylor Cosby. Lashere O'Bannon. Jessica Reed. Nicole Costello. Brianne Westlake. Lindsay Sandor. Lindsay Thompson. Nicole Brinkworth. Tierra Madera. Ninoska Aguilar. Maria Lopez. Shante Palmer. Kenneth Weich. Shakira Madden. Calvin Monroe Brown Jr. Mia Cherie Hassan. Zalika Dakari Maximum. Jamie Jenkins. Ashley Harvell. Lindsay Deemer. Jenna Filippoli. Lauren Elizabeth Poulton. Michael John Quigley. Rita Lilly. Jasmine Bukhari Myers. Nicole Dudek. Lindsay Johnson. Gabrielle Lopergolo. Jacqueline Wall. Melissa Reinhardt. Julian Tension. Ebony Burwell. Nyla Jones. Melissa Bethune. Stephanie St. Fleur. James Pichocchio. Brittany Whistler. Carly Reich. Harley Elizabeth Rambo. Jessica Orsini. Deanna Marie Richards. Jillian Patricia D'Amico. Courtney McKay. Brandon Cacavalli. Naomi Bethel. Teresa Flacco. Brittany Magzaman. Hope DiDio. Alicia Burke. Jacqueline Yu. Lauren Carroll. Aaliyah Sullivan. Angelica Negron. Maria Borelli. Barbara Mazare. Laura Bell. Ariana Testa. Earl J. Drew Jr. Corelli Nogueras. Casey Miller. Danielle Joyce. Marissa DeLuca. Amirani Daza. Shelby Guzman. Christine Mulvaney. Grazia Sale. Megan Gordon. Lindsay Gibbons. Grace Stevens. Mia DiGiambardino. Nicholas Dresch. Michael Villano. Courtney Cairns. Monica Rojas. Carrie Hanley Jones. Katie Croce. Jenny Curran. Kendall Whipke. Allison Randall. Lauren DiDonato. Holly Smith. Shannon Kelly. Jessica McIntosh. Keisha Pierre. Nicole Kozak. Amanda Robin Caristo. Joshua John Dudas. Gabrielle Sclocini. Kathy A. Pearson. Jessica Lynn Kinnearman. Elise Darty. Brittany Baldwin. Andrew Widmeyer. Lauren Kirsten Lee. Teddy Ann Pottinger. Jillian Wanalista. Ashley Fox. Joy Kim. Beth Baran. Jordan Zarnowski. Zachary Finio. Kylie Nevins. Tina Chung. Talia Brandon. Jesse Rich. Jennifer Varell. Tara Hutchins. Kira Dawn Suarez. Richard Keogh Jr. Gregory Smith. Emily Milby. Javante Thornton. Crystal Johnson. Nia Nanton. Alexandria Bramonti. Angela Kwasny. Joseph M. Borromeo. Taylor Michelle Schnorbus. Megan Frank. Shanique Brittany Williamson. Tristan Faust. Alyssa Whalen. Jennifer Ewing. Mary Jane Breeden. Justin Kosuski. Shane Badini. Laura Britton. Olivia Perry. Taekwondo Truesdell. Amber Pino. Kirsten Lusikanesh. Emily Wagner. Marley Emmons. Michael Kavchak. Brianna Marie Lucas. Ruth Sebo. John Taylor. Adam Bishke. Jean-Michel Coudray. Ricky Rossini. Dina Finch. Stephanie Ward Scherer. Megan McGonigal. Ryan Aloy. Ashley Weaver. Erica Parker. Andres Robertone. Abigail Carper. Gabrielle Wilkins. Sabina Katoon. Nusrat Anika. Ishrat Ritu. Alexa Scarpinato. Lauren Caparoso. Justine Rhodes. Amanda Marie Isaacson. Jazania Aponte. Maria Gribaliva. Diana Ifantides. Armando Morales. Anastasia Vinciguerra. Mock Jackson Jr. Nicole Grubel. Julia Martone. Gabriella Tedesco. Zachary Mello. Sarah Marie Riches. Nicole Lorenz. Angelica Pio. Alexis Parker. Claire Corbett. Brannon Corby. Gabrielle Feltenstein. Rachel Taylor. Kylie Ann Fulton. Travita M. Bromley. Taylor Marie Arney. Alicia Bullock. Ramon Razid M. Salvador. Nicholas Sheets. Jessica Nastasi. Adriana Moore. Ashley Pollitt. Emily Nunez. Tatiana Reeves. Eva Buggy. Michaela Edwards. Rachel Goldstein. Shamir Washington. Nicholas Dietz. Bianca Becerra. Yolanda Harris. Casey J. Jubanik. Haley Aaron McGee. Juliana Jacobs. Avery Sutton. Christina Bowley. John Edler. Dylan Swenson. Ekaterini Cross. Jacqueline Thomason. Anita Behringer. Summer Joy Dixon. Shianti Monique Warren. Kimberly Mullen. Samantha Damiano. Julia Sheehan. Kylie Parrish. Jennifer Davenport. Justina Cole. Madeline Lagerhorn. Reno Larajone.
And last but not least, the inaugural graduating class for Psychological Science, Dr. Mary Louise Kerwin, Department Head.
Audrey B. Honorado. Victoria Rose Canizaro. Corinne Langton. Louis J. Gardino. Caitlin Mary Gilmartin. Connor Burrows. Andrew Shirley. Emily Wright. Ryan Janesco. Andrew Gerber. Helen Cardoso. Brian Stites. Caitlin Bleiweiss. Jamie Elizabeth Sullivan.
Should I wait until the end? I'll dance until now. Ladies and gentlemen, and everybody in between, my name is Daniel Cardona, and I had the privilege of serving as Student Government Association President this past year. Will all bachelor degree graduates please rise for the tossing of the tassel from right to left? Once again, right to left. Please join me on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. All bachelor degree graduates may be seated. Congratulations.
Thank you for attending today's ceremony, and congratulations to all our students.